Welcome to the She Wrote, He Wrote podcast with Ashley and Jordan. I'm Ashley Wren Collins.
And I am Jordan Rockwell, and we are honored today to have two amazing guests.
We actually have our best friends here, Jordan.
Word.
My best friend, Judy. Say hi, Judy.
Hi.
And my best bud rider, Die. What up, Dan?
How you doing?
Oh, awesome to have you here, buddy. Thanks so much for coming on. You have, both of you, each of you individually have seen us through the bumpy road to our spouses. Been there since the beginning. Dan and I went to high school together.
And Judy and I went to college together. But we didn't become close till right after college.
Well, it's the same with you and me, Ashley.
That's true. It's true. You never know when you're going to meet.
But Dan, why don't
form relationships?
You want to go? Why don't we start with? I guess Judy, to tell us about you, what you do, and how long you've known Ashley.
So I'm Judy. I live in London. I work in a hyperscaler, so I'll let you guess which one that is, a technology firm. But I'm also but I'm actually a jazz singer, so it's like I'm like an aspiring would like to retire as a jazz singer, tech executive working in a hyperscale.
Yeah, Judy is a beautiful artistic soul clothed in a suit with very fashionable jewelry.
Nice. All right.
And a beautiful jazz singer.
It's twins, girl and a boy.
Yeah.
After that, and
we have kids the same age, pretty much. Yep.
And Dan, tell us about what you're doing now in the career.
What am I doing now? So I have 3 kids myself. We almost have 2 teenagers, but they're 14, 12, and our youngest James is 7. So got our hands full.
And what is it you do for a living?
Oh yeah, for a living, I am a school therapist and a private practice therapist as well.
So do you work mostly with kids or just in the school setting or all kinds?
Yeah, so in the school, it's kind of a private school for children with emotional difficulties, make it difficult for them to kind of manage public school settings, the largeness kind of and the impact of depression, anxiety. And so I work at a private school that is catering to a smaller environment for individuals that need that. And then on the side, I work with mainly adults after the school hours, doing therapy with them.
Great.
All right.
And so let's talk about when we first met, Judy, because I was definitely aware of you at Penn, where we went to school, but I wouldn't say I remember meeting you there, though we definitely knew of each other for sure.
I distinctly remember meeting you actually at Penn because I was trying to be a choreographer for the Glee Club, at which time I was told that I might get the job until I realized that the job was already selected, and they told me that it was with Ashley Collins.
Ashley.
I did not know that story. That is, oh my gosh.
We also met at the audition of 42nd Street as well.
You know what? Yes, it was weird at Penn when you auditioned. You could audition for a bunch of shows, and then if you were offered multiple parts in shows, you had to choose. So I think I was offered some type of supporting role there, and then I turned it down to do another show that semester. We could have been in a show together, Judy.
I know, but we never were.
Yeah, but I do remember you tap dancing to "We're in the Money" in 42nd Street.
Yeah, exactly. That is how we met.
But then we became really close after college. We had a close friend who was getting married to her college boyfriend, and she had a number of wedding events. So we did like a bachelorette party where we went whitewater rafting, and I just remember it was like on a weekend, and Judy was working. You were working on your cell phone, like from the raft, which is pretty much what you've been doing your whole life, always working hard.
It's funny because that seems like my weekends, even just the past weekend, even with kids. So yes, I guess some things never change. But I do distinctly remember being at getting ready for our friend's wedding, and then we all looked. I don't know what happened to the makeup artist, but if you remember, we came out of that.
Gosh. We looked like Fraggles. Did you guys ever watch Fraggle Rock? Fraggle Rock?
Fraggle
Rock.
No.
The makeup artist for the wedding, who turned out, I think she told us later, like was not quite legit. made us look like Judy looked like a geisha girl.
I look like a geisha, but the crazy one,
Did
like
they
the
stick
one.
chopsticks in your hair? Like they did something crazy. And then yeah, it was just like really
And that's where a close friendship started, in fact.
yes, yes. And we haven't looked back. What about you guys? You guys have known each other since
Yeah.
you were kids,
I mean,
right?
there's like things we can't talk about. Dan, you want to start? I mean, high school. You want to talk about our prom experience?
Oh, you guys went to prom together.
We knew of each other from seventh grade on when I came out to Maryland. Kind
Didn't
of.
come out. I just want to be. You came out.
Oh well, I moved out to Maryland.
Yeah,
Moved
there
out
we
to
go.
Yeah,
Maryland.
from
Coming out would be
California in
fine. I
seventh
just
grade.
that's not what we're talking about here. But yes,
Nothing
okay.
anything wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, kind of jumped into the same school that Jordan was in at the time, and kind of went in the same circles for a while until senior year in our French class. That was kind of our where everything kind of coalesced for our friendship, and we kind of.
If we ever do a Patreon show, I'll go into more detail there. But yeah, like the prom story is we both had lousy prom dates, and we both realized, okay, I think we never should have gone. I mean, I just gotta confess, like, I wish I had never gone to any prom. I just wish I was focused.
Overrated. I mean, like they're fun.
Overrated.
But
Do they still have it in the US?
yeah, and I heard they got really big. Like they're almost like proposals,
Ugh.
like where you have to make a big deal about who you asked to prom.
Oh my god.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, when we were growing up, it was just like you skipped a day of school and you had a fun little dance party. I don't know,
Yeah.
but right? I mean, did you go to your prom, Judy?
And
Yeah, I did. But I remember there was like a corsage involved. There
yes.
was right?
A
And then there was
boutonniere
like
for the
fancy
men.
cars. Yeah,
Boutonniere.
boutonnieres, fancy cars involved. I feel like people just
Yes, like people would rent a limo, right?
yeah. And then, you did that slow dancing. Our prom was called Forever Young.
Oh yeah.
Alphaville.
Was that the theme song, Forever Young?
Song, yeah, where we all slow danced to it.
Oh man, we're dating ourselves. And then I went to prom a third year, my freshman year of college. My dear friend, her younger brother, needed a date, so I was like, "I'll be his date," and I was determined to
Wait.
make sure he had a good time. So I was driving. This was like I finished my first year of college. I came home, went to the prom with him to be his date, and I was driving along, and I made him like he's like, "You made me sing into your hairbrush." I was like, because I wanted you to have a good time.
I'm trying to think of a movie that's from it.
I don't know.
Anyway, but back to I mean, Dan, you've known me for 30 years. You've seen the growth. I mean, I've already talked about this once, the hopping process, and looking back at my patterns. Like, I guess now is a good time. I need to bring up the I don't know, the bad stuff, but I am what we are. At least I know Ashley and I are both. Actually, Dan, I mean, you can talk about it if you want, but children of divorce. And at age 11, my parents split up, and that
I think we're
definitely.
all children of divorce
We're
here,
all, right?
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, all of us.
And you just learn a lot. I've learned to like not just let my parents go, but forgive them and understand who they were and how they showed up in my own patterns. And you saw my patterns of like overthinking, right? And just kind of pointing a finger, not realizing I had three pointed back at me. And I hope this podcast, this show, obviously we dedicated this book to all of our exes.
Yes.
But I want all of them to be happy. I know things I won't ever talk about, like how horrified I am and things I've learned. And
We've dedicated the book to our exes because I believe like they are a product. Whoever comes from your past like leads you to your future. So you have to be thankful
the broken road.
that you had that experience. And as you move on, not everybody's thankful or grateful, but we certainly are.
Dan, go ahead and let it rip. Like, what do you think? Like how I've changed and
How much has Jordan grown, Dan?
Hang on. Okay, here we go. Go ahead, Dan.
Buckle up.
Buckle up.
Well, I think, over the years, you have grown, I mean, in a number of ways. I mean, I think, one of the major things is, how you've kind of focused on yourself and your personal growth versus a lot of perspectives that you wanted to take on and kind of affect based on what you felt was the right way to be, right? And aspiring to be of a certain how do I want to put it, like you wanted the look of certain things. And I think over the years you figured out, all right, no, I want to be happy for me. And there's been a lot of, in art talks, you've had a lot of personal reflection and growth and trying to figure out, what is it that makes you happy? Because I think you were chasing a lot of things that were thoughts that you thought would lead to happiness. And, here you are now kind of figuring out, yeah, none of that is actually where I needed to go, and you're kind of on a path to do what makes sense for you, not what you feel like makes sense, based on, what you felt was the right thing at the time. Right.
You were there for the last like breakup before Julie, and it was this beautiful moment because she was this ex of mine was so kind to me. Like her kindness, her soul, like gave me hope. And like she ended it, she was like, "I love you with my head, not my heart." And I was like, "Okay." And I was sad, and I went home kind of. This is like May 2010, and I'm like bewildered. And I'm like, "Why is this hitting so differently?" I did the whole breakup protocol, like, yep, well, I know what to do now, and like pick up all her stuff and gather it into a package and send it to her politely. Why is this hitting so differently? Why is this hitting so And then that night, I'm sitting there, sad. Already made plans with my boy JP. Let's go out and let's go rage next weekend. What's up? And the series finale of Lost came on, and I don't remember. That show Lost, and I have no idea what happened. Nobody does. I don't think the writers even have any idea. However, the intent of that ending hit me right in the heartstones, which was two words: let go. And in that moment, I went, okay. And Dan, I'm sure you will agree, having witnessed that whole like from high school to that moment of I had been like thinking, if I just find the right relationship, if I just find the right girlfriend, I'll be happy. Nope. I had a moment of clarity of I need to make myself happy alone first. And I let go and I said to myself, you know what? If I never find her, fine. I'm just going to be happy alone. Poof. And that just kind of freed me up. And 6 months of the day is when I met Julie. So
That's right. And so that was shortly after we went to the first wedding together, right?
Because that's when you and I became friends. Actually,
Right.
really, like we both were like, I was dating a couple girls and not really into either one of them, and you want to go ahead?
I mean, I had a relationship that I knew wasn't forever,
Yeah.
that I knew needed to end, which I then ended shortly after
Yeah.
the wedding.
And like, well, first of all, why don't we? Dan, you were there for this. Like, actually, maybe
That wedding was crazy.
yeah, maybe this is a good time to talk about like how we came up with this idea for the book, because and I'm about to break my own balls here. So Ashley and I are sitting there hanging out platonically as sister
Friend.
from another mister, brother from another mother. And I see this lady, and I'm like, hello. All right, Ashley, I'm going in. And I walked up to this lady on the beach, and I'm like, and this is my opening line. So what shitty chick lit are you reading?
Because people like to read chick lit,
Because
especially on the beach.
needless to say, shot down. I go back up to Ashley like, well, that didn't go so well. And then next thing you know, she and I are just cracking like chick lit jokes. I walked out of the Starbucks with his phone number in one hand and my it's like, okay.
Right.
And then a year later, we should make a
Yes,
book
but
out
let's
of
also
this.
talk about this wedding had a band, a live band
Oh,
with a very
God.
attractive singer. And
She was
Jordan and I
beautiful.
were just there as friends, and he would
Julie, stop
we would
listening.
dance on the dance floor, and he would point to me, and because you were a little
Hammer.
having a good time, a little
Uh-huh.
hammered, and he was like, "I am not with her."
No, wait. Oh, you stepped on my joke. Come on. I was like, I am not with her.
Yes. Right.
Which is
Needless
the
to say,
stupidest.
I don't think that lead singer of the band took you up on your
No.
signal.
But then the following year when I had met Julie, and that was like I had told you like I'm really into this girl, and
I knew Julie was special.
you knew, and
But you didn't want to freak her out because you just met her. You didn't want to
yeah,
be like, come with me to this destination wedding.
and I saw the lead singer and she straightened her hair. I'm like, I'm not into her anymore.
Right. It was the same, right? That was like the same wedding 2 years in a row.
It was the same wedding 2 years in a row, but like,
yes. But two different
I had
couples
my
getting
moments
married.
of stud muffinness and
Yeah.
moments of
Yeah.
blew it off. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. So in between wedding 1 and wedding 2 that we both went. I guess as the second one, I was effectively officially your platonic date. But,
Yeah.
you
Second one? Second.
you met your now wife.
Yeah.
And shortly after wedding 2, I met my now husband.
Right.
Yeah. So, um, you know, but I mean, Judy, you remember our youth in New York, and in our book, New York City is another character because dating is one thing, dating in New York is a whole other thing. It's certainly
Yep.
changed and evolved over the decades, but I mean, we had some pretty big adventures. I don't know if you remember any about our
And you too, Dan.
dating
You
path.
mind.
What about is there anything you recall?
About can I talk about the choice stories about you or
Yes, you can.
Do
Sure.
it.
I don't know what you're going to bring up. We did not,
Up.
dear listener, we did not prep for this. We just said, feel free
Let her
to
rip.
talk.
Let her rip.
so Ashley's still famous in our household because I always tell the story
Oh, no.
about a woman who was able to somehow really juggle many tasks, many jobs, and many men at the same time, where
Nice.
where we did not have Outlook or shared calendars to actually look at the various different scheduling. She actually had this one of those, those paper diaries, like paper calendars,
Oh
where
my.
she would have names of men written on either Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'll be seeing David. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'll be seeing the older David. And then maybe the following week, I might be seeing Max or whoever it was. And I was like, Ashley, how do you keep it all together? And like, how come they don't get suspicious that you don't see them every day? But like, it's okay. I just tell them I'm really busy because I am. And then, and she made it work. And we were all inspired, yet too scared to do anything like that.
I mean, I
But anyway,
think it's like trying, love is like you have to try people on for size, right? And see what you
yeah.
like and what you don't like. And I definitely, I sowed my wild oats.
Yes, and she did it very well. And obviously, you were also really great about just saying like, okay, I'm done. Like it's not working out, and just sort of moving on as well. Like you were, it was very efficient, I would say. Like, and then you obviously had, your focused loves as well. Like in Russia, Max, or
Right.
and generally actually, well,
Yeah, it wasn't always like this period. There were some dedicated solo.
complicated
Yes.
relationships, but
Yes.
generally actually liked the older.
Older men, definitely men with accents. Um, I recommend even if you don't settle on a man with an accent that you at least experience one in your lifetime. Um, but But my favorite story is who I took as a date to that wedding that we were both in as bridesmaids with the terrible makeup artist. I kept talking about this boyfriend I was dating. He was a lot of fun and very handsome. And I show up at the wedding and
Oh my God. It was, well, yes, we've been hearing that the younger David, as we were referring to him as. And Ashley did say to me, oh yeah, I met him on the subway, in New York. I mean, in the city one time. He's really fun. You're gonna, I think you guys will get along. So we're getting ready. So we look like that Fraggle Rock, bridesmaids, me looking like a geisha, Ashley looking like, whatever, I think it was
Fraggle
like a
frizzy hair.
There are
Yeah.
Frankenstein
pictures. We got to post
rocker.
these on the She
Yeah.
Wrote
You know,
I'll have to
Instagram
find the
page.
picture.
yeah, and then suddenly we're finished with the wedding. We come out and all the guests are coming out, and suddenly I hear, Judy, Judy, and I turn around and I go, oh my God, Dave. So it turns out that I went to high school with this guy.
Who I had met on the subway and been dating and didn't know that they had gone to
Uh,
high school together.
So yes, and so I've gone through junior high school with him. I've done theater with him, knew him really well, but we obviously lost touch after going to college. 6 or 7 years later, suddenly I see him as a date to Ashley's. That was nuts, wasn't it?
It was nuts. So later that same night, we came home together after the wedding. He was definitely a little inebriated. I may have been as well, but all I remember is I had an apartment with a very little balcony, and he stood on the balcony at the end of the night, naked, slapping his ass and howling at the moon. He was
I think he's single, ladies.
no, and then And the last time we saw him, which is a long time ago now, I would say like over 15 years ago, I think we all went out for karaoke together,
Oh my
right?
God, yes.
And we all ended up in the same bed together. Nothing happened. We literally just crashed. I don't want to
Oh, just make
give the
something up.
illusion.
No.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I think it's good to sow some wild oats. That way when the real thing comes along, you
Yeah.
know it and you're not like, is the grass greener out there?
Yeah, no, and I definitely remember when you met, your husband, because obviously I was living in London already, so I didn't get a chance to see or see Ashley all the time. And suddenly I remember like, you either call me or maybe I was back in New York, maybe it was over WhatsApp. I heard, I don't even know if WhatsApp existed then, but Ashley said to me, I met a guy. I think he's gonna be great. He does yoga. And I was like, and I was like, oh, okay. What else does he do?
Sad?
And he's like, oh, and he's a classical guitarist, like a Spanish guitar. And I was like, wow. And I had all this like picture in my mind of what he looked like. Anyway, yeah, then there was a long road after the first first meet, but yeah, then obviously ended up in happy story. So
So
that
great.
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I've seen Judy through a lot as well. Yeah, I know you went through a divorce. And so that happens to people. You're certainly not my only friend that did too, and now you're very happy with your partner. But I I I tease Judy now that I feel like maybe we should have known that the wedding wasn't forever, because at the end of the wedding, the end of the night, they both ended up on different vans. Like they were both partying with their different sets of friends at the wedding,
Mm.
because everybody went out for food again after the wedding and they ended up separated. So maybe, I don't know, maybe that should have told us something.
Well,
That would have been the
yeah.
clue.
Yeah, right.
Dan, I also want to give a shout out to your amazing wife Moira, who I literally look up to a lot of ways, because she was witness to. I guess now is a good time to talk about, with without giving any gory details or anything like that. But I almost ended up with somebody else 20 years ago, and there's one lesson that I'm grateful for, is that the most painful breakup I ever went through was one that I initiated. And and there and I got back together with this woman, and more, and like I remember Dan, you and Moira were out visiting us in San Diego, and this woman was out there with me, and Moira just was like, and in my experience, a lot of like times we give like women can, in my experience, like, have given me great advice and shitty advice, and I will talk about the shitty advice that some of my female friends have given me. But Moira has never stepped wrong, and she was like, I don't like, no, like she because we can't see, we get blinded by our hearts sometimes, and Dan, you'll back me up here. I was blinded, but our friends can see what we can't see, and when you have a trusted
I
friend,
think a good example of that blindness was, well, I don't really like her as much. I like her family, so I think I'll just stick it out.
yep. I mean, I cared about her, but I knew she wasn't Julie, and it was awful to make that phone call. And there was, and to bring in another uh, friend of ours. Full disclosure, we sort of dated, but then she found out, and my phone rings, and it's her. I'm like, oh my god, hi. And she and her, then boyfriend, now husband, got me through that breakup. And what she told me, I'll never forget. She said, Jordan, I'm sorry that you're suffering. I know you're confused. I'm summing up what she counseled me for a couple days. But when you meet her, Julie, she's gonna knock you on your ass. In other words, knock me on my ass the way only Julie could, and she did. And I'm so grateful. And again, back to the one I ended, that woman was really like, I was we got back together, and she was really angry with me that I had broken her heart. And I'm like, not understanding that my heart broke too, and I was trying and trying and trying and trying and trying. And a certain female friend, who I will not name on the air, was like, Jordan, you just have to put up with it, because blah 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 blah. And I'm like, Oh, okay. And looking back, it's like this is the wrong advice because it's you teach people how to treat you. Moira, on the other hand, was like, "This is not okay. You don't have to put up with this shit."
I have to say, knowing Moira, she is pretty much
Oh, she's
always right.
awesome.
She's got great
No
instincts.
one's always right, but she was right
No
on
one's
this.
always right, but she's got very sage advice and instincts for sure.
Yeah.
What I want to know is, because we've all been around, had life experiences. Now we're all with partners and kids. And like, I was talking earlier about how, I think it's like a grown up lesson where love is not enough for a
It's nope.
relationship. You think it's going to be enough, and no one talks about all the things it takes to make a relationship work and function over time and over good times and bad. So, what would you guys say is like a lesson you had to learn growing up in terms of love and relationships? And especially like I thought it was this, and then I realized, and so that's why I did this. Or anyways, no wrong answer, just asking.
I mean, I guess I can start like back to kind of what we're talking about around sort of divorce and finding a completely new partner, right? And I think, I mean, Ashley, you know that. I mean, my ex-husband was completely different to my current partner, right? Like, I mean, like we're talking 180 degrees. One was an investment banker, the other one is a punk rocker, uh, technology person, right? So you can't you can't be completely. It's completely opposite. Now, I think that's part of that, love is not enough conversation, right? Is that, I think when I first got married, we were young. He also went to Penn as well. And, we had a lot in common, but there was this kind of idealism around like what I thought a marriage should be or what a partner should look like, for me. And I feel like, I realized that actually you need to take into consideration what you want or, in your sort of longer future. So for me, career was important to me. For him, a stay-at-home wife was important to him. And obviously, I realized that we hadn't really talked that through. And I think later on, it just becomes real. Like you're married, you're talking about having kids, and then suddenly it's like, oh, I like you to be a housewife. And I'm like, whoa, 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 like that was never in my cards idea. So then, we had to make a hard choice. And then you move on, and then suddenly I'm with a partner that actually works. He's part-time, right? He's like, when we decided to have kids, and he said, I want to, do you mind if I work part-time and I want to be with the kids? And I was like, yes, this is what I've been like waiting for. So, and we love music together. So it's not just about love, but like sharing that pastime and hobbies together and being able to really relate to what you love to do together. And I think that's what I realized, that it's really important for someone to really respect, what you love. And Ashley, you have that, with your husband. and
Yeah, I
and
mean,
I think, yeah.
I always say that like for my husband and I, like our art is like our second child, right? That we nurture. It's a baby you take care of, and we definitely respect that about each other, and that's hugely important.
Yeah.
But I also love to tease Judy, and I think this is like a product of we were young and figuring out, but like when she met her husband, you're now divorced from, and then she was like, I think maybe this is the one, whatever. He was like the first guy that could keep up with you because Judy was like has boundless energy and was like, you had a good time. You could party on the weekends and still get up and be, whatever. And so he could keep up with you and stay out. She used to have boyfriends that would be like, I'm going home.
Well,
And Judy would be like, well, I'm going to stay out with my girlfriends.
I,
But that's not enough. Just because you
yeah.
have someone that's not enough to make a relationship work.
Judy, you bring up a real you said this word idealism, and that really hit hard because when we're young and hopeful, we're all idealistic, and then that crashes into reality on reality's terms, and love is not enough. There's got to be values in common. There's got to be just like I with my negative patterns either drove me away or drove them away. And I'm gonna do a whole hop and process episode, probably be by myself or with Ashley, whatever, to talk about that in specifics. But they were supposed to drive them away because none of them were Julie. But I had to learn that the hard way, and life is the best teacher. And I'm grateful for that snapped heart that had to be put back together. And then because then that here I am. But if people we can get through anything. We love each other. No, you can't. I mean, good luck with that. It just doesn't work out that way.
Yeah. And I think how you spend your time together, and I know Judy, is so important. Like, you don't have to be completely alike, and you can have different interests, but when it comes down to, because you're going to spend a lot of time together.
Dan,
Correct. Like you were saying, like the arts, like, my ex-husband didn't like me, singing and practicing at home and, those kind of values. And, that's important, isn't it? Like you kind of want people, your partner to respect what matters to you,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think those kind of things. Yeah.
What kinds of things does Moira, do you feel like she
and how did you guys meet, by
tolerates
the
from
way?
you, Dan? What does she tolerate from you?
Wait, you and Moira have been together for a while, like 20 years, right?
Yeah, 11/11/07.
Wow.
Wow.
And how did you guys meet? Again, remind us, tell the audience.
At BU, she was starting her grad school year, and we were in mutual friend groups and kind of got introduced. And for a while, it's actually kind of a funny story. So the mutual parties were trying to get her and I together with such pressure that both of us independently, without knowing, were actually telling that mutual friend, leave me alone, that's too much, like you're giving me too much pressure. That person invited me to a choral show that my wife to be was in, thinking that it was just a platonic thing. I was going with that person, and turned out that no, that was a setup for me to meet Moira at the time. So yeah, kind of they got us together, and somehow they knew, and um, our little affectionate thing together. We say, we're each other's puzzle pieces, and I think that speaks a lot to kind of,
I love that.
we need
That's
that,
cute.
that kind of, you fit together really well, and um, you know, what I'm appreciative of is I didn't have to go through a ton of these, relationships. Somehow it kind of just kind of clicked, and kind of vicariously through Jordan, I was watching kind of you just, bouncing back and forth with all these.
And you're like, thank God I don't have to do that.
Oh, thank God. Yeah,
Yes, let's be
It was
honest.
exhausting. I couldn't keep up, to be honest, with the, with the stories and the, even today when you're like, oh, you remember this one? I was like, no.
Yeah,
well, it's an interest because we're doing the show and this book and everything. So obviously, it's what I've always been interested in is being a child of divorce and like what makes people get along. Because I mean, values in common. Like you and Moira like fit right in. Me, you and Francisco, Judy, and I imagine you and your partner, and me and Julie. Like it's like you don't want to have everything in. You don't want to have everything in common, but enough in compatibility, that yin and yang kind of thing of, like you have the extrovert introvert person that they fit together, or just one likes to talk, one likes to listen, and so on. But when I met Moira, I was like, oh yeah, you're done. You're done. Yep. So,
but I want to get back to my question. I mean, everybody has pet peeves, or what is there something that, like, if we had Moira alone right now and we were like, name one thing that drives you crazy about Dan, what would she say?
I process out loud, and so she had to learn. I have a second one actually, but so yeah, she had to learn over time that if I say something, I'm trying it on for a little bit, and kind of just putting it out there. And for the first, I don't know how many years, I'd say something about the weekend, and I'd give out a throwaway line about what about this place? What do you want to do? And let's go to this winery. Let's go to this whatever it was. And so she's be gearing up, and then she's all right. Are you ready to go? I'm like, oh yeah, I don't really remember that. Oh, I did say that. Oh, no, I was just thinking, and then she had to kind of kind of get to the point where she was realizing that that was not just because it came out of her mouth, that was just test balloons, a lot of the time.
She had to adapt to that style.
we are
right.
the same way. Like,
And she is much more of a deliberate thinker. By the time it comes out of her mouth, she is, she's been mulling it over for quite a while.
I think that's a mom thing. Moms, make decisions and they've been thinking, and I think maybe it's sometimes a female thing. Like, if I feel like even Judy and I, if we call each other with a problem or a dilemma, like, we can handle it. We know, but it's just your friend is like the sounding board you need before you like take the leap. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I feel like women with kids, I don't know. Sometimes you just got to make the decision. If you want to run it by your partner or whatever, but like it's sort of already been decided.
It's interesting you bring that up because Dan, like if you were to ask like what would Julie like similar, I am the dreamer and Julie's the realist. Like Walt Disney was the dreamer, Roy was like the nuts and bolts. Julie is the nuts and bolts. I'm the dreamer. Like I talk about, all right, so we're gonna buy that house next door. We're gonna put it in a compound. We're gonna put the wall, and she's like, and where's the water gonna go, and how are we gonna pay for it, and where the solar, like, and that works. If we were both dreamers or both nuts and bolts, I don't think it would work. And
Yeah.
and so there's a yin and yang.
Don't you have times when you have to switch roles? And because that's how Moira and I work. We have one of our rules is only one of us can be in that role. So if it's a stressful thing, one of us can freak out. The other has to be kind of composed and so we kind of just take on the role and um, kind of go back and forth in that manner.
I also think it's really fascinating in how we choose our partners and what we witnessed as children. Like my mother,
You think?
for me growing up, was like the most important thing like a family can do together is eat together. And whatever that statement was that she made at some point in time, that really stuck with me because I was a busy child. I was a child of divorce. There were not a lot of family meals. I certainly remember summer barbecues or summer vacations, but there weren't. And so for me, like eating together as a family is very important. But also, just I think I know I grew up and the marriage didn't work out, and so it became very important to me. Like I always know where my husband is. The communication is great. I know his schedule. Like I never have to wonder where he is or what he's doing, and so I think that's also something I sought out. And I don't know if you guys can look at your own what you saw or were witnessed with your parents and then your own choices, I think, are very fascinating and how we end up with the spouses we end up with, you know, and what we
Oh,
witness or don't witness. But
Yeah. No, for me, it was witnessing my parents because so my parents immigrated to America, and I think it was my dad kind of driving the bus and kind of my mom was fine to kind of leave England where we were from, but we kind of bounced around to a number of states in America when I was younger, and she couldn't put roots down, and my father was totally fine with that. An introvert, he didn't want to make any connections. He just wanted to work, work, work. She wanted to make roots. She wanted to have friends, and so that's what I was witnessing was the lack of roots and the lack of socializing, and that my parents didn't have like people. I didn't know any. My parents didn't have people that they connected with other adults. So when I was growing up, I didn't have adults that I was able to interact with as a child that kind of you know um, to see that those interactions. And so I think that kind of put it into my head that all right, I wanted to be you know because we all take things from that childhood, right? And we kind of say to ourselves, all right, I'm not going to do that, or I value this, so I'm going to replicate that. And
right, or you unconsciously replicate it, or you make a conscious
yeah, you
decision
do.
not to do it. So those are the patterns. Yeah. What about you, Judy?
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. I mean, I think it's I mean, there are a couple of things, I guess. It's like, one is I think I mentioned earlier about I ended up marrying the first husband because I actually think I almost replicated what my dad was like, and then I realized that that's not what I wanted. And then later on, like now I think about it, like part of the reason why it didn't work out is like I actually like to call the shots. And then my mom didn't call the shots, right? She was a housewife and she actually didn't have much say and they ended up getting a divorce and he ended up leaving her for somebody else. And I think um for me now the reason why our relationship is working really well is because I think it's a completely opposite. Now I've learned from that and said, what, I actually want somebody who is dedicated, who's happy with, how I am, and it also allows me to call the shots and at the same time strong. It's not like he's a pushover. He's definitely not a pushover, as you know, Ashley. But he's just he's quietly strong, but at the same time he's kind of happy for me to let me run the show. And I feel like that's part of kind of learning what I saw in my parents and what I didn't want to be like my mom.
Right, because she didn't have a voice, so you were like, I'm not gonna do that to myself. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, it's undeniable that what we witness. And what about you, Jordan?
Um, again, like I'll go into it in another show, but like I've come to realize where a lot of my negative love patterns all come from, and like how do I put this? Like I could be in the beginning. I would be very charming. I had uh, all the fail. They're supposed to be failures. Up until you fail. The one thing you're supposed to fail your way up to is your marriage or your final relationship. And I would be charming in the beginning, and then needy, clingy, fear of abandonment drive them away, or avoidant if they got too close. Like I had one girlfriend tell me, "You're afraid of commitment," and I didn't. What I said in my head was, "Yeah, with you." I'm terrified of being stuck with you for the rest of my life. But when I met Julie, I was like, "Oh no, I'm not afraid of commitment at all." And it felt right on paper. I'm sorry, it looked right on paper. It felt right in the heart and soul, and here I am. But really, again, it I don't. I used to blame and others, and yeah, like not all of them were great. Some of them did some awful things, but it's still I put up with it. Like where my accountability comes from, that I just find so much inner peace in is going, okay, what this girl did was bad, but I didn't say anything. I didn't speak up. And that was a big old pattern that I'm getting over, is speaking up and saying something. I was like, wait a minute, this is not okay. Wait, what? This guy hits on her and she's like, isn't that great? He hit on me. I'm like, no, why are you telling me this? Like, this is not okay. Like, this is not okay. Like, I speak up. So, at the end of the day, it's extreme ownership. What did I do wrong here? And because I can only change myself. I can't change other people. It's not possible. You can inspire, you can influence, but you cannot force people to be something they're not. And
Oh,
love
definitely.
is not enough. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Dan, you were a
Well, I
witness.
think a lot of it is you don't have your own house in order before you go out searching for that other partner.
Correct. I did not.
Yeah.
And we can hear my dog barking in the background. Um, yeah, and if you think, again, as we've said many times on the show, like once you get to the altar, what do you do on an altar? You sacrifice. Once you get to, you're all done. No, it's not happily ever after. It's if you can keep it, because that's a continuing thing forever.
We had
Yeah.
Judy and I had a mutual friend once who's been married now like 25 plus years. And she was like, you know what marriage or a partnership is like there's always something new coming into the equation. Could be a child, could be a dog, could be a parent's health issue, could be somebody lost their job, but there's always something new. And like you have to have the tools to navigate that and support each other through that, even when you don't feel like it, or don't know how to. You got to figure it out. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think about, I always look for role models, and like if you're a child of divorce, like I mean, they either grew apart or mistakes were made, and I mean, we all know about each other. But I look at someone like Billy Crystal, him and his wife. I think his name's Michelle. Mr. and Mrs. Crystal have been together for over 50 years, and he was interviewed about that. Like Billy Crystal's been married to his wife since like 71 or something like that. And he said, and I quote, like, I saw how my parents treated each other, and they were all really nice to each other. And that was my role model. But yeah, like we are modeling for our kids every single day. Give yourself grace to forgive yourself. Lord knows I've made mistakes with my kids, but like at the end of the day, it's
yeah, and that's
ugh.
very important and undeniable. But there are people whose parents had happy marriages and then they
Mm,
married someone and it doesn't work out. I mean,
correct.
everybody's story unfolds differently, you know. Um,
But at the
but
very least, I just try to set an example for Jack and Riley. So, as I know you and Moira do for your kids, because I know you guys. But yeah,
I don't know, something about what you were just saying made me think about kind of how Wren and her friend group, kind of how they talk about husbands. Yeah, and sometimes, when we're kind of debriefing on, oh, how was your night? What were you doing? She'll talk about how kind of some of the girlfriends will talk about their husbands and how uncomfortable it is for her because
Right.
they're so disrespectful or so, just I can't imagine ever sharing what they share or sharing it in the way that they share it, with us, in that, in that group. Yeah. And it's not, that it's, kind of me being, um, kind of brought up to speed with everything that they're saying, but it's more just the theme of like, how do they not, how do they speak about their husbands, in that way to one another? And, and I think that's kind of I don't know, an example of partnership and just the respect that we have, and that it's just such a huge, um, kind of just a foundation of what needs to be there. And, so we never claim that we're doing perfectly, but I think, it's the foundations and it's the mutual respect and, the realization that it's work that, each day, like you were saying, Ashley, it's, there's always a new challenge. And, whether it's a work thing or a social thing, a parents, but it's, I think one of the things that really connects us is, I feel most connected to her, I think, when, you know, something's going on. Let's say it's, my father's had a lot of health issues, and it's been up to me to kind of be in charge of that. And it's kind of uh, the oldest of my siblings, and she's never looked at that as my thing to deal with. It's our thing, and like there was never any sort of discussion about it. It was just let's go. We're a team, and to a smaller extent, and I think this works for both of us. She has siblings, I have siblings, and it was very important for both of us to be very close with each other's siblings. And again, maybe that was just a mutual thing that we didn't have to talk about that kind of matched really well. But you know that kind of connection or desire to be connected with each other's siblings was very mutual. And so I think again just things that kind of work really well for us, that keep us connected.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's easy especially with kids and work and modern times, even, it is easy to take somebody for granted day in and day out, right? Just to the routine and the schedule, but also to realize time's gone by and you're like, oh my God, I haven't actually connected with this person. So you have to really make time to connect over details other than like, did the dog take a poop? And no, over details beyond that. And did you pick up broccoli for dinner? You know?
Well, hang on, back up to again. Shout out to Moira again. Like it totally hit me hard. Like hearing how Moira, some of her friends, how they talk negatively about their husbands. Like it's like gossip. That's like the one person you don't gossip about. Gossip about. I mean, you're in my inner circle, Dan. So like, there's obviously things and I know about you. Like we don't talk about the air or anything, but it's like that's inner circle stuff, and it's not gossip. It's let's help me work through this. That's not for public consumption. It's certainly not in that kind of friendship group. And good on Moira for her instincts flaring up, going like, nah, that's not cool.
But the same goes. There are sometimes men who get together and it
Oh,
becomes wife bashing. It goes both
I'm
ways.
not saying otherwise. Like
Yeah,
100%, 100%.
sure. Yeah.
And either way, it's like, dude, why are you talking about your wife that way? Like, wait, what? Huh? Like, this is not, not cool. Yeah, it, I don't know what else to say except that we're on the same page here. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's a rough world out there. I know, like I keep repeating this joke. Like we got the lot, all of us who are married or coupled up, got the last chopper out of Saigon. I think I heard that in Freaks and Geeks. It's like, ladies, it's first chair, not last chopper out of Saigon. Like they're all like, single people are really. I've heard stories. It's rough. Like,
Well, I mean, look, we don't, all of us are married or in long term relationships. I think it's my understanding that with dating apps and whatever out there and people's shorter attention spans and our YouTube, social media culture and soundbite culture, et cetera, that it's always a matter of like people feeling like the grass is greener. I don't know, or we're wondering if it's greener out there. I feel like that happens more now. I don't know if that's the case. I certainly don't. I'm not an expert on dating or whatever, but I don't know.
I mean, I miss the whole app era, Like I feel
Yeah.
like it's like, yeah, when the whole apps were coming to this, that swipe left, swipe right was happening, I missed it. So,
Mhm.
I used to think, oh wow, it's so great, like easily accessible. Like you can, you don't have to go anywhere. You can meet a bunch of people. And then I think shortly thereafter realized that it was hell out there for the people who are using the app, there's catfishing or whatever what they're
Oh,
called, but they don't look like anything, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, no, it must be like it must be hard, like Jordan said. It's a tough world out there.
And that's
Yeah.
why we're here. But yeah, man, like I got a funny story for you. So Julie and I, again, we met on OkCupid. We had a great first date. And then later on, she's like, I got home and saw you logged into OkCupid. I'm like, that means so did you, honey. Hello.
Right. After the date you were logged on, but then if she saw that, that
That
meant
means
she
she was
was
logged
logged
in
on.
too.
That's funny.
But it all worked out just fine.
It all worked out just
Yeah,
fine.
we met again, OkCupid right before Tinder showed up. Right before, oh boy, like I know people who've met on Tinder, and I know people who've gotten divorced after meeting on Tinder. And oof, I mean, I haven't done too much research except that apparently Tinder is a wasteland now. I mean, now they have like apps for everybody. They have
I don't
I
know.
can't imagine that would have been healthy for you.
no. I'm grateful. Yeah, Dan, no argument here. I'm glad I never had the Tinder experience. Ugh. No,
It's a brutal world.
Quagmire in the corner. That's a Family Guy reference.
Yeah. So I mean, this is one thing that we're asking everybody to share a little bit about. Do you guys are you prepared to share what you think is the most romantic book?
That's why it's so funny, because I was thinking about that, and like Lucas always says, like, I don't think it's like I've been with you for almost 15, 16 years. I don't think I've ever seen you read a romantic fiction. So I'm but what, I gotta go back to the classic. I mean, I think like Romeo and Juliet. I mean, there's a reason why it's a classic, right? In terms of the Shakespeare and the romantic. I don't know if it's considered a play, book, but it's turned into so many different versions of stories and films, and I feel like that it is because it is it's tragic, but it's a very romantic.
Yeah, doesn't she fake her death? And then, right? Or no, he fakes his death and then she wakes up and whatever.
Well,
Yeah, he fakes his and she thinks he's dead. And then,
Yeah, and he thinks
Yes.
she's dead, and then he ends up killing herself and
Yeah.
himself, and then she takes his dagger and
but
yeah.
yeah, I mean, Romeo and Juliet is all well and good, except the fact that he sees her once and goes, "I'm in love." Like that's infatuation, but it's young love.
That's chemistry.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the tragedy of it.
Young love.
I don't think does Shakespeare have any happy. Well, yeah, Much Ado About Nothing. I
I
guess.
love Much Ado About Nothing. As You Like It. Yeah.
And Dan, how about you?
I'm thinking maybe a little bit differently. I don't know how if it fits exactly, but I'm kind of thinking of kind of the character development of James Bond. As a guy who's kind of into a little bit more of those historical thriller, spy fiction kind of genre. Um, haven't spent too much time on the beach with you know kind of the chick lit like you guys are talking
Yeah,
about,
but it
but
doesn't have to be chick lit. There are totally other
yeah,
romantic stories
but I
out
think and Jordan, we can talk a little bit about that character's development, right? In terms of
We're
you know,
talking like
that the
But wait a minute.
the,
Bond gets laid whenever he
well,
wants.
they are.
So you're saying
Hang
that's
on a minute.
romantic?
The Ian Fleming
that's
version.
romantic, as an individual.
Well, he gets his. If you go by the books, he gets his heart ripped out by Vesper Lynn. She betrays him and then dies by suicide. And he's like, "Screw this!" And then he falls in love with Tracy, the mob boss's daughter, and on Her Majesty's Secret Service. They get married, and Blofeld murders her on their honeymoon. So
Yeah, he's not ever able to, even if
he'll
he
never get it.
finds love or a spark of love, he's not ever able to hang on to it, which is like the superhero thing.
Tragic.
It's tragic. You guys, these are very sad answers. Let's move on. The next,
what I got another one. What about Bridges of Madison County? How about that?
The Clint Eastwood made a movie with it, Meryl Streep. Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna let Jordan field that one. I'm gonna let him field that one. He's the
Well, she's
extreme
married
movie
to
buff.
somebody else, but I guess she doesn't love him. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. You know what I think? I was actually thinking is romantic because we were asking this question of someone else, and they were talking about romantic love, but all kinds of love. And one of my favorite movies of all time is Ron Howard's Parenthood.
Oh my God.
And that movie, I love it because it depicts families, and I always say every family, no matter how wonderful they are, is messed up in some
In
way.
some way.
How are they messed up? Hopefully the dysfunction isn't debilitating later in life, but that there's a lot of love in that film, even when people are struggling. And there's romantic love, husband and wife trying to make it. The Steve Martin and Mary Steenburgen are married in that movie, and so I love that. And so, that's an atypical answer for most romantic movies, certainly. As is James Bond and Romeo and Juliet, where they die in the end. But those are books. So so I was just talking about Parenthood. Do you guys have a most romantic movie? And again, it doesn't have to be a romance movie or a romantic comedy. It can be anything. We've had all sorts of non-traditional answers.
I feel like everything that I
Lot.
said, someone dies at the end of
That's right.
Don't know. What does that say, Judy? I think we need to look at that more deeply. I'm teasing.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
teasing.
Unrequited Love, Bridges of Madison County, James Bond.
Yeah, I mean the
is
tension between two characters, even
Casablanca.
when it's unrequited, is gripping.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Casablanca. It is true. It doesn't have to have a happy ending, which is a very American thing to have a happy ending.
Mhm.
Or it could be like, you know how I just love I used to be an opera singer, so I loved the opera, and there's so many romantic stories, but they're all usually tragic. But then I always think about like La Boheme and Rent, and I love how it, when they did the remake of Rent, they actually changed the ending so she doesn't die at the end, right? She wakes up at the end.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's kind of romantic. It's a very modern, but 1990s modern, Manhattan, Alphabet City,
Yeah.
kind of story. Like, but it's obviously like La Boheme, and you kind of see the development of characters, and it turned into a film, and also it's a musical, but and at the end it's like, she wakes up, like she says, oh, um it wasn't time for her to go yet, and they end up happily ever after, which is a different rendition of the ending from La Boheme, where she actually does die. So I think that's kind of cool.
All right.
Yeah, I like that kind of, like, I'm not actually a huge fan of, like, I guess, like a whole real lovey-dovey kind of film, but I can't think of it, like Love Actually, like stuff like that, I
I was
guess.
thinking of that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Love Actually. That's definitely a big favorite.
One I'll do the whole show on it is 500 Days of Summer. Completely turn my ship around, and it tells you right up front this is not a love story. And he realizes
I never saw that movie, but I remember
Oh,
it
it's
I
so
don't
good.
I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it, so shut your ears if you haven't seen it. But don't they? I've seen it, but it's been a long time. They don't end up together.
No,
Right.
like, and she tells him like she's engaged. And she says, so what I was sure of him in ways I wasn't ever sure with you, which is the whole point. And he realizes I've been doing this all wrong. I've been looking for happiness in another human being is just a fool's errand. And he realizes he's been screwing up his life by not going for what he really wants to do, which is be an architect. And that's when he meets her, the right woman, in the end. Sorry, spoiler alert, but it's the experience of that movie is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And again, right up front, this is not a love story, they say.
Yeah.
But ours is. It's romantic.
So did Dan really answer his question about the most romantic movie? Was your
Oh, it's 007.
No. Well, that was the books. He was talking about
What's
books.
the book? I'm thinking maybe we got Princess Bride. That's a good one.
That's
Enjoy
nice.
that one.
I
Yeah.
like that one.
As you wish.
As you wish. Okay, and so then our last question is, do you have a most romantic date, meal, or vacation? These can be real, as in you actually went on this date, ate this delicious food, or took this vacation, or they can just be on your bucket list.
Can I tell a funny but romantic, like,
Yes, please.
story?
Absolutely.
I don't know if it's funny, but so there was a time when Luke and I went to Amalfi Coast, and Amalfi Coast is beautiful. You look over the cliff, and it's it's amazing. You overlook the sea, and we went to this we stayed at this place called Ravello, which is actually at the top of the Amalfi Coast, and we organized a Michelin star, 12-course meal, sort of overlooking, in this very romantic setting, had, lots of small, like, it's great seafoods and everything, just perfect setting, just kind of lights down. You can see the sunset and everything. But, and then we were so looking forward to going to this meal. But the night before, we had gone out to a different place and ate lots of seafood as well. And I think somehow Luke had food poisoning. So, but he still wanted to go. So there's this romantic setting. He insisted on going. He's practically crawling into the seat of this Michelin star restaurant. But unfortunately, after each course, he had to go to the bathroom, and we only made it through maybe 5 or 6 courses. And I was like, you know what? Time's up, dude. Like, we're gonna have to take you home.
Oh.
Oh, what a trooper, though.
That's so sweet that he wanted to try and make it through.
Because we were there for like a week, and I think this was like the pinnacle of our trip. Like overlooking the sunset, beautiful setting, perfect weather, 12-course meal, and I think all he remembers is how the bathroom looked in that restaurant.
Sure, it was Italian marble.
I know. So, but anyway, it was a beautiful place. I recommend, if you guys haven't been, please go to Amalfi Coast and please go to Ravello.
It sounds like you two need to go back and finish the meal. It
Oh,
sounds like one day.
I took Julie there for her 40th last summer.
You did?
Yeah, it was a
Oh
year
my
and a half.
gosh.
It was wonderful. Yeah,
Amazing.
I'm always amazing. Yeah.
And what about you, Dan? Most romantic meal, date, or vacation?
So I'm thinking of two things. I think so. We originally scouted out St. Martin as our honeymoon spot. So before the two weddings that brought all of us together, we were there right after our wedding in 2007. So yeah, we had kind of the quintessential, sunset overlooking the water.
Was this your
You know,
honeymoon? This was your honeymoon.
this is the yeah.
Okay. Oh, I didn't realize you went there for your honeymoon. Okay, got it.
We did, yes. And so, yeah, really romantic restaurant overlooking the water, and just, kind of too young to appreciate it kind of thing, and kind of looking back on it, realizing how fun that was. Then the other was just when we took a trip to Italy, and we went to like a small Tuscan uh, fort, that, a little, town that was just so quaint, and we would have wine all afternoon long, and then the tour company that we were with put together a wonderful meal that we had, and I think it was just kind of the culmination of everything that day, being on the tour and in Italy, and so that was really special for us.
Well, I love these unifying themes of Italy. And now it's making me think of before we had our daughter, my husband and I took a trip to Italy, part of which included a trip to Cinque Terre, where you can hike the 5 towns and you go through ancient and vintage vineyards. And it's a really magical thing. And we did the whole walk. Not everybody makes it. It's very hot. We went in August, or maybe it was early September, but it was very hot. And we stopped and had lunch, and we had pesto and swordfish, and it was one of the most amazing meals of our lives, and we keep thinking about when we get to go back and eat that. So Italy is a special and romantic place,
and our book is a special romantic book.
Yeah, well, we hope to do different installments in different locations, but we might have to do She Wrote, He Wrote in Italy.
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Certamente, perché no?
Yes, and go do some more research and invite Dan, Moira, Luke, and Judy, and the kids, and make sure it's all authentic.
Yeah, moonstruck we are. Anyway, thank you both so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. Ashley, you want to get us out of here?
Yeah, I'm thankful. We are so thankful for your friendship over the decades, and thanks for making
Love you, brother.
to us. And may you all listening out there have wonderful love in your life, not just romantic, but good friends like Dan and Judy.
Amen to that.
Make the world go round and are wonderful sounding boards when you need them, and your cheerleader in your darkest moments.
Word.
So thanks for listening, and wishing you love in life and on the page, and we will talk to you soon.